Have you ever just been sitting there and it kind of hits you that like every single person you've ever passed on the street has a whole story going on of their own? Like that random guy in the grocery aisle who looked half asleep. He might be stressing about his job. Or maybe he's got kids at home waiting for him. The girl blasting music at the red light might be on her way to see someone she loves. Or maybe she just left a funeral. You'll never know. And that's kind of wild to me because most of the time I live in my head thinking that I'm the center of the world. And it's not in a cocky way, but just because my problems, my thoughts, and my plans, they're the loudest thing in my head. But then I remember it's like, dude, everyone else is walking around with that same noise in their head. It's like the world feels flatter when you think everyone else is just kind of background characters in your own movie. But when it clicks that they're all living their own movie, that's when life feels bigger and actually deeper. I don't know, it makes me stop and look around more. Like when I'm in traffic and I see hundreds of cars, I think every single car has a person with memories, regrets, people they love, people they lost, and they all have stuff that they'll never tell anyone, and I'll never know about 99% of it that goes on out there. And honestly, that makes me feel small, but in a good way. Like, yeah, I'm just one out of billions, and my story is just as messy and complicated as everyone else's. It takes the pressure off thinking I've got to be special in some big dramatic way. And the weirdest part is how invisible all this is. We spend so much time worried about how people see us, but the truth is they don't see us at all. Not really. They're too busy with their own story, and that kid you thought was judging you in class, he was probably stressing over his own grade. The time you said something awkward at a party, most people didn't even notice because they were caught up in their own insecurities. And it makes me realize that maybe the weight we put on how we look or act around people is just wasted energy, because everybody else is too busy being their own main character. But here's the flip side, and when you really let it sink in that everyone's carrying this whole world inside of them, it makes me want to treat people differently. Like I can't just see the cashier at Target as the cashier. That's somebody's son, somebody's best friend, maybe somebody's heartbreak. They've got a whole story that matters as much to them as mine does to me. And that's humbling. Like, who am I to think my life is worth more than theirs? And it's not. It's just mine, and their story is just as real. Sometimes I wonder how many people I've walked past who were in the middle of the biggest moment of their life and I didn't even know it. Like, maybe someone just got accepted into their dream school, or maybe they just lost someone last night. And here I am, just scrolling on my phone, totally clueless. And that makes me think, maybe life's not about being the star of some epic story. Maybe it's about realizing you're part of this massive, tangled web of stories that are all happening at once. And yeah, that kind of wrecks the idea that we're supposed to be special in some huge way. But maybe that's okay, and maybe meaning doesn't come from being the one everyone notices, but from noticing them. The times I felt most connected to life weren't when I was trying to be the main character, but when I slowed down and actually saw people, like actually paid attention. Sometimes I'll catch myself people watching, and instead of thinking about how I look, I wonder about them. What are they carrying? What's their story? And I'm not saying I have it figured out, and honestly I don't. Half the time I go right back to living in my own bubble. But these little moments when I remember, when I zoom out and realize life isn't all about me, they feel very grounding and they make me lighter. Because if everyone's carrying a story, then I'm not as alone as I feel sometimes. My pain isn't unique and my joy isn't either. It's all part of something way bigger than me. And maybe that's what keeps me curious, because I'll never know most of these stories. They'll just brush past me and disappear. But for a split second, I can stop and realize that they're there. And they matter. And that alone makes the world feel less empty. And the more I think about this whole not the main character thing, the more it kind of messes with me. Like, okay, if everyone's living their own full story, where does that leave me? Am I just a background character in someone else's story too? That's a weird thought. Like, what if my role in some random person's life was just being that kid in the back of the classroom? Or the guy at the gym who always wears the same hoodie? What if that's it and I'll never know? And honestly, that makes me feel both small and also kind of free. Because think about it. You're the most important person in your own head, right? But at the same time, you're just a blurry face in the crowd for thousands of people. They'll forget you in seconds. And yet, for you, every moment feels heavy. Like it all adds up to something. And that's such a weird clash to me. It's almost like life has two different scales running at the same time. On one scale, your story matters more than anything because you're the one living it. But on the other scale, it doesn't matter at all because there are billions of other stories happening at the same time. Which one is true? I don't know. Probably both, and that tension is hard to sit with. Sometimes it even makes me wonder if meaning is just perspective. Like the stuff that feels life or death to me is probably invisible to everyone else. I'll stress for weeks over something, and to somebody else it doesn't even exist. Does that make it less real? Or is the fact that I feel it enough? And then I think about how many times I've probably walked past someone while they were in the middle of something that changed their whole life. Maybe I was standing behind them in line at Starbucks while they were replaying the last words of a breakup. Maybe I brushed past someone in the airport who just got the phone call that their parent died. I'll never know. They'll never know me. But we crossed paths. For a split second, our stories touched, and that's just honestly wild. And it makes me wonder how many people are carrying stuff right now that I can't even imagine. Like, you'll never know who in your class just went home to an empty house or who just had the best day of their life. We're all just walking mysteries. But here's the part that really gets me, it's that if everybody is living a story, then does that mean that nobody's story is the story? Like, there isn't a single main character at all, just billions of overlapping little movies that sometimes collide. That idea messes me up because I kind of want my life to be this story. I want to feel like it all means something big. That maybe it's just one thread in this massive web that's too big to ever fully see. And I don't know if that's depressing or freeing. Some days it feels heavy, like what's the point if I'm just one face in the crowd? Other days it feels like the pressure's off and I don't have to be the hero, I just have to be here. And I think that's why this idea keeps spinning in my head, because it doesn't land clean, it doesn't give me an answer. It's just this weird tension I keep bumping into. Like, take memory. You know how there are moments in your life that feel unforgettable to you, but to the other people in the moment, it was nothing. I still remember a throwaway comment made to me years ago that stuck in my brain. They probably don't even remember saying it. And I wonder how many times have I done that to someone else? Accidentally shaped how they see themselves without even realizing it. That's what I mean about being a background character. You might be a side role in someone else's life, but that side role might stick with them forever. Which makes me think, what even is the line between background and main character? Maybe it's blurrier than I thought. And then there's the part of me that resists all this, because if I'm being real, I want to matter. I want my story to stand out. And when I zoom out far and think of myself as just another face in the crowd, it feels like I disappear. Like none of that matters, and I don't want to live like that. So maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Like, you're not the center of the universe, but you're also not nothing. You matter deeply in your own little circle, whether it's your friends, your family, the people who cross your path. But on the big scale, you're small. Both things are true, and you just have to wrestle with that. I don't know if I'll ever figure out how to sit with it fully. Some days I want to just embrace the smallness, like whatever, I'm just here, I don't have to prove anything. Other days I'm like, nah, my story has to mean something bigger. I bounce between those two, and maybe that bouncing is part of just being human. At the end of the day, I think what keeps me hooked on this whole thought is that it breaks the way I normally see the world. Normally I walk around thinking about me, my plan, my problems. But every once in a while, I remember that I'm just one story surrounded by billions of other stories. And that shift is kind of unsettling, but also kind of beautiful. And maybe that's enough for now. Not to figure it out, but just to keep wrestling with it.